Now we have a way to kind of break violence down, right? And you can do that if you train in the martial arts and you start looking at the specific style that you're training in, look at where it's limited, right? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is great for what? Ground fighting, right? There's a few things standing up, and they do train against the other ranges, but for all intents and purposes, it's a ground fighting art, right? They don't, the last time I was in Jiu-Jitsu, we did not wrestle with a knife, right? Some places do, but that's where you can start to look and say, okay, where is my system? Where is my, what I'm relying on, where is it limited? And you start filling in the holes with those things, those other systems that work, right? But we need a philosophy. And this is where, this is really important. So what we want to do is we want to be able to absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add specifically what is our own, right? And what that means is we basically look at the system, look at all the elements, look at the ranges of what we're preparing for, and we say, okay, in this particular scenario, we're going to take this, these particular techniques, these work, these don't, throw those out. But then we want to add specifically what is our own, right? Because Bruce believed that the individual was more important than any system or styles. I think we can all agree on that, right? The individual, the living, creating individual is more important than system or style. So you don't want to have to change yourself to be a part of a system, right? That system should be flexible enough to change to suit you, and if it's not, you throw it out, right? If you're a 300-pound man with limited flexibility, you're probably not going to be doing jump spinning kicks in a fight, right? Doesn't mean you throw out kicking altogether, but you might pick one or two kicks and then have to change the way you throw them based on your body type, right? So you're getting those things that are effective, throwing those things out, but you're now honoring your expression of who you are. And so this is very important when it comes to life, is it not? How many times do we not do that? How many times do we try to fit in? How many times do we stifle our expression because of a system or something that other people are saying that this is the way, right? So this is very important. I'm going to share a story of how this, this philosophy is universal. Has anyone ever heard of the gambler Don Johnson? Not the actor, but the gambler. He's one of the most famous high rollers in Vegas. Anybody ever heard of that guy? Yeah. There's a documentary out, it's pretty short. I forget what it's called. Anyway, this guy used this to a T. And what he did is he analyzed casinos for weaknesses, right? He looked at the systems of the casinos and he analyzed them for weaknesses. And what he did is he identified the best game that would give him the best chance to make money. And if you know anything about casinos, it's all statistical and it's always in the house's favor, right? That's how they exist. And what he was able to do is take their entire perk system along with everything else that makes the casino money in conjunction with the rules of blackjack. And he identified all the rules that he needed to make this thing work for him. So he absorbed what is useful. He said, I'm going to keep all these. Then what he did is he went through all the rules and identified the ones that he needed to get rid of, right? And he did it at a time where the casinos took a dive and they were courting him. They really wanted his business because they thought that they could get millions from this guy. So he said, okay, I'll come play at your casino, but you got to take out these rules. I want to do this, this, and this instead, right? Because what he did, once he absorbed what is useful and he rejected what is useless, he got rid of those rules that weren't there. He calculated the chance, right? He calculated the advantage. And he got it all the way down to like 0.0025, still in favor of the house, right? That's not enough. You know anything about, that's all the house needs to still get money from you if you play over a period of time. Doesn't mean you can't win in different settings, but statistically, if you play over a good amount of time, you're going to lose your money. So what he did is he then added specifically what is his own. And he said, okay, well, I want this rule. I want a surrender rule where all I need to do is do that with my finger and I can surrender half of my bet. It's an insurance bet. And if the dealer doesn't see it, then I get to have a free hand. I basically get to play with your money. And they agreed to it. And that tipped it back into his favor. Because that was an element where he was very smart. What he did is he hired a bunch of adult film stars to sit with him when he played to distract the dealers, and he was able to swing the bet more into his realm. And what happened was over a period of, I don't know, 3 or 4 different sessions with different casinos, he won $15 million before they ever pulled the plug on him. Because he was going with a system that he created, But he did it in a way that worked for him. And he didn't do anything illegal. The casinos agreed to this. He simply tipped it into his favor. And that's the type of thinking that I want to get to you, that you can get out of this. These are universal things. So we get to this, and now we have to get to our training. We're still on the first reason. We still need to survive. And so what types of training do we do? Well, we know that we have different systems, and they have ways of training that we want to take. But also we need to add a couple other things.
Transitioning into business and being the better expression of yourself. He's a first-degree black belt under William Vandry. He also has trained with Paul Vunak, certified JKD instructor. The list goes on and on. Mr. Ed Aiken. What's up, man?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. All right, all right. So this is my second time at the 21 convention, where it's limited, right? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is great for what? Ground fighting, right? There's a few things standing up, and they do train against the other ranges, but for all intents and purposes, it's a ground fighting art, right? They don't. The last time I was in Jiu-Jitsu, we did not wrestle with a knife, right? Some places do, but that's where you can start to look and say, okay, where is my system? Where is my what I'm relying on? Where is it limited? And but you're still communicating and expressing yourself. And if you're abstract enough to kind of see what, what the correlations is, then by changing one area of your life, you change the others, right? And what we find is that we find ourselves in the zone.